Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Conversations with Teresa. I am your host, Teresa Aline, your midlife mentor, your perimenopause coach. We are here. It is Monday. It's 8:30. It is time for our conversation. So, if you're listening right now, well, how does I start right away? If you're listening right now and you are in midlife, maybe it's perimenopause, maybe it's menopause, or honestly, maybe just standing at a crossroads in life, I want you to lean in for a minute because tonight I want to say something bold, something that may go against everything that you've been told so far. Things like midlife is a decline. It is not a decline, it is an evolutionary upgrade. And it is, in my experience, the ultimate upgrade. And I know that might immediately bump up against everything you've heard online in doctors' offices, or maybe even talking with your friends and family, right? So before we go on, let's slow this down and talk about why this idea matters so much. So, first, let's reframe the narrative. For decades, longer than I was born, right? Midlife has been framed as something to get through, or something to manage, or something to endure. And we hear words like brain fog or mood swings, exhaustion. Not only do we hear it, but we feel it, right? And don't forget that irritability. And those experiences are real for many of us. But they've sometimes, for some of us, they've become the only story we tell. But when I started digging a little deeper, just through my own experiences, through reading articles, research on women's issues, conversations, something encouraging came up. The brain doesn't simply decline in midlife, it changes. And in many ways, it improves. And that's important to sit with for a minute, because if the brain is changing, not failing, then what we're experiencing may not be a breakdown. It is not a breakdown. It is a transition. And once we understand and accept that, we can look more honestly at what's actually shifting beneath the surface. So let's talk about what can often what starts falling away in midlife, whether we are like consciously choose it or not. All right. This is the season where many women realize that people pleasing is and feels exhausting, or shrinking yourself is no longer sustainable or optional for us. Carrying emotional weight that isn't yours, that time is over. And that can feel unsettling at first, because for years, those habits may have helped you survive. They kept the peace, they kept things predictable, they helped you fit into roles that once made sense. But midlife has a way of, I was going to say gently, but not always gently. In my case, it wasn't gently. It has a way of saying, we don't need this anymore. And it's not because you're becoming difficult. And it's not because you're becoming selfish, but because you're becoming aware. And awareness naturally leads us to the next part of this conversation, the part we don't talk about enough. Now, I'm going to pause again right here and be very, very real with you. Let's take a reality check. You will not always feel inspired. I don't always feel inspired. You will not always feel motivated. I doubled out on that. I don't always feel motivated. And you will not always feel ready to take on something new. Some days you'll feel tired, some hours you'll feel uncertain, and some moments you'll think, I thought I was past this. And I need you to hear this clearly. That does not mean that this season isn't working. This is not about being positive all the time, and it's not about forcing confidence. This is not about pretending that everything feels good. This is about choice. And if it doesn't work this hour, it may work the other hour. And if it doesn't land today, maybe it'll land tomorrow. But we do not stop just because the feeling hasn't caught up yet. And when we give ourselves that permission, something powerful begins to happen. A season of clarity comes. And one of the greatest and most desired gifts in midlife, at least for me, is clarity. You start asking different questions now, like, why am I doing this? Or who am I really doing this for? Does this still align with who I am becoming or who I am now? Getting to clarity can be uncomfortable. Sometimes it asks you to release roles or expectations, some identities that once felt secure. And it may ask you to reevaluate relationships or routines or even dreams you've outgrown. But what you gain in return is phenomenal. We gain discernment, we gain confidence, we start relying on our intuition and self-trust. You no longer are living on autopilot. You are choosing intentionally. And that level of intentional living, it opens up the door to something that many women don't realize they're allowed to claim: permission to evolve. And here's something I want you to truly receive tonight. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to want something different now. You don't need permission slips. You don't need to explain every shift, and you don't need to justify your growth. You're not behind. You're not broken. You're responding to a new season. And this season isn't asking you to rush. It's asking you to be honest with yourself. Which brings me to the heart of the conversation for tonight. This can be your best life if you choose it. Midlife is not perfect. Every day won't feel empowering, and some days will feel very heavy. But this stage of life holds something pretty extraordinary. It holds wisdom. It holds experience with courage. And it holds truth without an apology. This can be your best life. And not because everything is easy and not because you're clearer, but it is because you're clearer. Our minds are clearer. We're braver. We're more grounded than we've ever been before. And if today isn't the day you feel it, that's okay. Just don't quit on the season. Don't mistake discomfort for failure. And please, please, please don't talk yourself out of what's unfolding. You are becoming, and that is powerful. So I want to thank you for spending this time with me in Conversations with Teresa. And if this resonated, I so want you to share it with someone who needs permission to believe that midlife can be their best life, that midlife can be beautiful. All right. So until next time, until next week, make sure you keep choosing yourself. I'm Teresa Aline, and this has been Conversations with Teresa.